It's good. It's good.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Check-In. I'm Sara Lesky. He is Jamie Thomas. We are here to get you ready for the Jets' 3-game road trip that is coming up now that starts tonight in Montreal, an all-Canadian matchup against the Canadiens.
Yeah, it's exciting that they went on the I just can't even talk about technology. Anyways, how about the way the Jets closed out the homestand on Sunday against the Calgary Flames? Things went better off the start of that game than they did off the start of this show. When you pull a simple cord out, things are not supposed to change dramatically. So,
it is going to be a great show. Yeah, they did get, you know what? They ended things. They had back-to-back 5-2 wins. They got a great win for Eric Comrie, finally with some run support as well.
A whole bunch of run support.
Yes.
Yeah.
So very happy, Eric Comrie. Very happy to be able to see him get back into the win column. Thanks to all of you that are joining in already into the chat and watching on X, Facebook, or YouTube. Don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe as well. We always appreciate the support. And we have a very busy show over the next 30 minutes to get you set up for this game tonight in Montreal.
Yeah, it's we have a great guest list. It's all TSN all the time, actually. So Kevin Sawyer.
It's a TSN game, both in the Montreal and Winnipeg region, so it's perfect.
Kevin Sawyer, the color analyst of the TSN broadcast, will join us first. From a Winnipeg Jets perspective, we're going to ask him about hot dogs, because that's who doesn't like to talk about hot dogs when you go to Montreal. And then Bryan Mudryk, the voice of the Montreal Canadiens on TSN, will join us at 12:50 to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, what's going on there, because it looks like they're ahead of schedule in terms of the rebuild.
Well, they're only a couple of points back of that second wild card spot right now. Actually, when you look, they had the rough start to their season, but when you look at December and January, there is just 1 point that separates Winnipeg and Montreal in terms of points, and Winnipeg having played 1 game more. I was looking at it earlier today. So it's crazy how close things have become with them. They've been playing better. Always great to see Canadian teams do well. We want to see as many Canadian teams as possible make it into the postseason.
Yeah, we'll worry about the Montreal Canadiens after tonight, but it is a good story because it didn't look good at the beginning part of the year. And we'll get Bryan Mudryk to clear things up a little bit with us because of what has been the biggest thing to turn around, and the patience shown by Martin St. Louis, the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. And you're just starting to see this all come to fruition. They're getting great goaltending, of course. So we'll find out a little bit later on the show. Good point by Aristeele. Kyle Connor's highlight reel goal on Sunday. My goodness.
Yes.
That was the thing that you they needed that with, because the last time they had faced the Montreal Canadiens, the Calgary Flames, I know Dustin Wolf wasn't in on Sunday, but you still had to get that first goal because the way Calgary defends, it's hard to get through. Kyle Connor just took it upon himself with a highlight reel goal. It was so great to see that happen. But even better with Eric Comrie getting the win was the comments he was making afterwards, just big smile on his face, said it was getting to him.
Well, how could it not?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter what sort of cheery disposition you have. I mean, he is an incredibly competitive man. And when you look at the way that he'd been playing, for him to be 0-7-1 in his previous 8 starts, with only 12 goals being scored over those 8 games, I mean, it would be impossible to not get frustrated.
Do you think there's some finger pointing on? Could you score a couple more goals?
Well, that's what I said. 2 of his best friends are Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey. So I was joking that, at some point, hey, we're supposed to be best buddies here, and it'd be
highest
really
scoring
nice.
team in the NHL. It would be nice if you guys actually acted like it when I was in net.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so they finish off this month on the road. So they've got the games tonight in Montreal, then they're in Boston, and then they kick off February in Washington. But this was such a heavy month of games at home. 10 games at home, only 2 on the road so far heading into tonight. They were able to get things on track in terms of their game, their style of game in January.
Right.
We saw ebbs and flows for it, but they certainly were able to. And then looking to continue that momentum. They have 5 games left, including tonight before the 4 Nations break, all against Eastern Conference opponents. And so obviously we'll be discussing a lot over the next week and a bit about the style of game that you can expect to see. It differs in the East often than what we see in the West.
Yeah, that's a common conversation. And, just how different the game is out east and how it's played and from the west. But we'll get a lot of that conversation come up in the next five games before the Four Nations face-off break.
Yes, so morning skates obviously underway. There is a benefit to them being
east?
out east, is
Yep.
that we don't have to say to you we're not sure about what it's going to look like. We are expecting the same lineup that we saw in the win against Calgary. Connor Hellebuyck, though, starting in net, it appears. No surprise there, obviously. He's 15-2-2 in his last 19 starts, a 1.88 goals against average, 3 shutouts, and a 926 save percentage over that stretch. Continues to play well. And do we have Scott O'Neill?
I'm going to so with our little technology kerfuffle,
Okay, well,
I have to
well,
no, I can pull this up. Just to delay the people. The road trip, we're going to go with that one.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Okay, watch this.
We're seeing the East now. Our next 5 games, a little different. Sometimes you don't see these guys for a while, but we got to see Montreal in our building. It'd be nice, obviously, we get this trip started off on the right note. And yeah, you're playing against these teams in their building. You really have to be smart about how you play the game. Good.
I think the start is going to be so important for the Jets. That was something that we heard that they wanted to do in that game against Calgary. You talked about the importance of it there, in particular when you're going out on the road. You don't have last change. To be able to get off to a good start. Neil Pionk spoke about that yesterday before they left.
Yeah, it was a quick conversation. Neil, it was an optional skate before the Jets departed for Montreal. Neil was on that about the second power play unit, how you're not seeing a whole lot of the second power play unit because the number one unit's doing so well when they come on the ice. And that was further to that is the comments made by Gabriel Velarde after the game about the lack of opportunities the Jets have been getting. And he goes, he has all kinds of ideas about what's going on and thoughts on it, but he can't obviously say it because there would be a big fine or something coming along the way. But they are as frustrated as Jets fans are about the lack of opportunities that they are getting with the man advantage.
Yeah.
Because you can understand why, because it feels like every time they go out on the ice, they're going to score. They were 2 for 2 on Sunday against Calgary.
Yeah. With respect to scoring first, so here's the importance when you look at Montreal just in terms of records. We have discussed before that the Jets have been able to be resilient throughout this season. So while obviously you want to be able to score first and be able to really establish your type of game, I don't think that it is as pertinent for the Jets just in terms of overall record as it is for Montreal. So when Montreal scores first, they are 10-4-1 this season when they are trailing 3-4-3. So significant difference. That's at home for it. So significant difference with respect to that.
Yeah. I mean, when a team is as good as the Jets have been this year, you in a tighter checking game, which Montreal does not pose like Calgary does, or the tighter checking teams, a little bit less concerned if you give up that first goal to a team like Montreal, but obviously pertinent when you switch around on the road. You want to get off to a good start that we're talking about. So.
Yeah, I love talking about the last time that these two teams met. Connor Hellebuyck having a great game. They won 4-2 here at Canada Life Center in December. And if you remember going into that game, there was a lot of talk about Patrick Laine, obviously, because he returned the job that he was doing in Montreal. But he was saying that he usually gets the backup netminder when he comes in. And so they must have the Patty flu. And then Connor Hellebuyck after the game said, no flu here.
Yeah.
Sort of idea.
Yeah.
So,
I think he made 8. He had 8 shots on goal that game.
I think 7 or 8 on that one. So yeah, it should be a good one tonight again with their matchup.
I could be wrong, but a guy that is never wrong is our next guest. He is Kevin Sawyer, joining us from
Never wrong.
Yeah,
Wow.
joining us from a closet inside the Bell Center. You look good, bud. How you doing?
The nicest closets in the country, I'll tell you. These hotels never get old. You know this.
Oh, I love that. That Montreal hotel is sweet. Yeah. Anyways.
Kev, so just before we get going on this, I want to know that whenever you hear about the Bell Center, everyone always talks about the hot dogs. All right. We know about Jet Dogs, obviously, here at Canada Life Center. Do you partake in the hot dogs at the Bell Center?
I am so going to disappoint you here, Sarah. Like,
probably not going to, but
no,
I'm one of those kids that back in elementary school, when you kind of heard the rumors about what was in a hot dog, and I bought into it, and I have never had a hot dog, and I can't bring myself to do it. I just can't do it. And I mean, it almost feels sacrilegious not to partake when in Montreal. You know what? Because of that, I think I'll take a bite of one tonight. But Listen, on the
You're
topic,
going to end the streak.
I got to tell you this story quickly. I was on, I think it was when Kyle Connor had his hat trick in 6.5 minutes. Somebody threw a jet dog onto the ice and it landed in the box between the benches where I stand. And it stayed in the bun, in the package. Like it was almost ready to eat. And I crossed my mind. I'm like, should I maybe take a bite for the first time? But anyways.
You know what? You don't want to.
Don't end the streak because of us.
Don't end the streak in Montreal. If you're going to end the streak, we're going to get you a bite of a jet dog here. That is where you need to. So, but I was thinking about it because when I was it is something that everyone talks about. And I saw an old article, say it was from 2019, that they were talking about how on average they go through about 250 hot dogs just in the media section per game. Ben, I don't know if it's still like that post-COVID, but yeah,
I've had a couple.
Media rarely disappoints when it
Rarely.
comes to
Not
the food
hungry
being
long,
offered.
Sarah. Not
That's
hungry
right.
long. That's what the NHL is. The important reasons outside of hot dogs, and now that you've disappointed us all, everybody watching, that you don't eat hot dogs. The importance of the win for Eric Comrie on Sunday. I know it was getting to him. He admitted to it, but just to get that out of the way to move forward, how big was that for him on Sunday, in your opinion?
Yeah, obviously big to get the results. What maybe a lot of people don't know about Eric is he holds himself accountable to a level that might be even more than most, where he demands so much from himself. As good of as a guy as he is, and we all see it daily, such a great teammate. He's always smiling, but inside he holds himself to a super high level. So as good as he was in those 8 games without a win, we all know that it was not because of his performance. I think we all agree on that he wasn't getting the wins. It didn't matter for him. He was taking it on himself, saying that it's up to me to find another level to get a win. Well, it was finally nice to see the team score for him. I mean, I can't come up with a real reason other than, back-to-backs, tough schedule, but I mean, that happens for all backup goaltenders, most of them. And it was finally nice to see that kind of undescribable streak end. So good for him to get a result after a lot of good quality play.
When you look at this road trip now, so Montreal, then there's day off, game in Boston, then practice day, then game in Washington. Do you like the way that this road trip is setting up just in terms of the schedule to be able, there aren't back-to-backs. You think of all the travel that you and the team have had to do with some of the road trips recently. Do you think it's setting up well for a successful 3-game trip before the Four Nations break?
Yeah, when you consider what the team went through in that grinder where what do they have, like 7-11 and 15-30 with a flight in between every single game. The worst is behind them for sure. So nothing will ever come to that level of fatigue and grind. And, although the team is maybe fighting a little bit of a bug and they're without Adam Lowry, I just think the group is so good at resetting. A day off in between every game is enough. I mean, they all wish that they had more time to practice. Here's what I find interesting about this trip, though, Sarah, is the game tonight against Montreal is going to have its own personality where, Montreal can burn you and they can score goals. They can get up the ice. And if there's a team out there that can make you pay for mistakes, and we saw Utah do that in game 1 of 2 over the last 2 against the Jets, that is, to me, the calling card for Montreal. They can jump on a poorly played puck and they can hit you with numbers going the other way. So that's the personality of this game. And then going into Boston, it's going to be completely different. So it's going to require the Jets to have to stay within who they are, but at the same time, accept a totally different kind of game. Was it 8-1 last time Boston was in Winnipeg?
Yes.
So that's a redemption game for them. They will not forget it. They will be ready, and it'll be a bar brawl style of a game. The personality will change drastically. I'm really curious about that, the way that the team can find a way to perform at a high level and yet accepting 2 totally different feels of a game.
All right. What we've had or been a beneficiary of Adam Lowry's injury, Kevin, is Rasmus Kupari, who's drawn that role between Nino Niederreiter and Mason Appleton. Why has he been so effective between those two in the last couple of games?
Yeah, I think that kind of the same idea is Cole Perfetti, where maturity, where you try to stick to what you think makes you a better hockey player. And I think Rasmus knows that, although at some point here, whether he's in the 4th line or the 3rd line, or who knows, maybe in the top 6 at some point in his career, he has to start translating hard work, straight lines, and speed into offense. But that to me isn't the be all end all, whether he's playing well or not. He is fitting in so well up the middle of the ice in the bottom 6 his face-off percentage in the last 3 games is out of this world. I think it's above 60%, 65%, somewhere in there. I think a lot, like what I said on the broadcast the other day, talking to Rasmus in the locker room, he might as well have a glass of scotch and a cigar in his hand because he's just chill, very calm. I think he's confident in himself. And it kind of comes out in his game. I don't know if you guys agree, but I mean, it just feels like he's comfortable with, playing 8 minutes in a game or 15 minutes, whatever is asked of him. But eventually, and I think it's within him, he's got the skill set, and I think he's got the IQ to eventually start becoming more of a contributor for secondary offense. But man, he stood out for me last 2 or 3 games. It's like, it feels like the puck won't leave him alone.
Okay, so do not eat the hot dogs at the Bell Center today. Eat a jet dog here.
Yes.
We will put it on social. We'll bring you on the show. You can do it live. You can end your streak.
You can do it live. Oh boy. Okay. I got to
show like Kevin Sawyer is going to eat a hot dog on check-in.
Okay. Well, if I'm going to do it, I'll have to do it between the benches. We just got to get somebody to put another one over the glass again and it stay intact.
100%. Kev, just before we let you go, it's 80s night tonight at Bell Center. Describe 1980s Kevin Sawyer.
Oh, yes.
What was like quintessential Sawyer in the 80s?
Where my hairline was so much better than it is now. But
you can't show your hairline after you have the toque on because it pulls it all back.
Oh, it's just no good. I mean, look at that. I had Sarah the side spike.
Nice.
With the tight sides and then the mullet. And it was like Don Johnson, Miami Vice, wannabe, sport jacket. No good. A lot of my friends would say that my suits, like the one I'm going to wear tonight on the broadcast, would be one from the 80s. So, I mean, I'm kind of taking it with me everywhere I go.
I love it. Have a great broadcast today, Kev.
Can you guys do me a favor and maybe edit out my hairline out of this? Please just take it and just throw it away.
Are you kidding? Now I just want pictures of you from the 80s.
So like when I'll put this clip up today, watch the check-in. Kevin Sawyer explains about his hairline. I'll make sure it's right at the top. Right when you pull the toque back.
We're gonna get a selfie with a foot-long jet dog and bad hair, Kevin. There we go.
Enjoy the day, my friend. Have a great call today.
Thanks. Love you guys. Thanks for having me.
See you, buddy. Kevin Sawyer. It looked like he's burning candles in his room. Hey, he's got the perfect light in there.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Something great. Air Steel saying, great. Now that theme from Miami Vice is stuck in my head. Thanks, Kev.
See, you got to leave a mark every time you come on the show.
It's
and that's
true.
You have something in there. Hold on. Jets dog number 1. What's this? Jets dog number 1 food to eat at. Oh, okay, gotcha.
For it. Excellent. To be honest, I've never had a jet dog either.
I had one. I'm just trying to remember.
We could all see.
I didn't eat the whole thing.
They're huge.
They are, and of course, from a guy that used to work at Costco and had a lot of Costco hot dogs, it's tough to go up against those. A lot of Costco hot dogs, and the muffins. Oof.
Cakes.
Sorry, that was like the cakes. Those huge muffins.
Yes.
Do you know there's like 1,500 calories in the chocolate double chocolate one? Oof.
Yeah.
That's a meal.
I did because we used to live off those in the 90s. Oh yeah, coming home from school, we would have. Oh yeah.
You had the double chocolate chip once?
Oh, for sure.
Blueberry was my favorite.
Nope, not for me.
Okay. Yeah.
So just before Bryan Mudryk joins us to give us a little bit more about the Canadian side for it, Scott O'Neill was asked specifically about facing Montreal.
You got it.
They get some offense. They can push the pace, especially when it comes to their back end, their defense coming as well. Since we last saw them, I think our records are pretty close to being identical. They're playing well. They're good here in this building. So, we got to limit the amount of opportunities. When we talk about that, that's our puck management, how we handle it, making sure we got numbers over top, not giving those odd man numbers against. So, they can transition quick. They can score. They got people that can make plays. So we just got to make sure we're defending first.
I feel that's exactly what Kevin Sawyer just told us.
Right.
It was like he was there listening to the coach talk.
Well, and as I mentioned that, and earlier, and then Scott saying it as well, that their records have mirrored each other really. 16-8-3 for Winnipeg, 16-8-2 for Montreal. Montreal has given up the first goal, though that's been an issue for them in 6 of their last 7 games. So we shall see.
Well, it depends what happens. Oh, here's a good one.
Yeah.
That image, Kevin bobblehead with a Jets dog dangling over his head. Love it, Pete. It's a good idea.
Oh.
Hold on, so let me just send a text message to our good friend Bryan Mudryk to just remind him of his commitment.
Okay, sounds great. Well, as you're doing that, one of the players, obviously, that continues to make his presence felt with the Canadiens is Patrik Laine. No surprise to see the power play continue to play a big role in him. You and I were just looking up and talking
Just
about
see if he had scored a 5-on-5 goal.
That was Jamie's big question.
Yeah.
So I said that
Journalism.
I said that despite missing all those games, over 20 games to start the season, he is currently 3rd on the team in goals scored. He's behind Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and then it's Laine. He's got 12 goals. And Jamie said, have any of them come a 5-on-5? And 2 of them have. So he still continues to make his mark and presence felt very much so on the power play. But Cole Caulfield, the only player on that Canadiens team that has over 20 goals right now. I think he's at 23 so far. Suzuki's around 15. So it's been a slower build for this Habs team so far, but they are only a couple points back at that second wildcard spot. So I think things are going to be, whether you're looking at the West or the East, and maybe you guys can chime in even, which teams would you like to see as the wildcard teams in the postseason this year? There's a lot of mix that's still going on, obviously.
Ottawa and Montreal. Okay. What do you want? Detroit would be nice, though.
I'd like to see Columbus.
Okay. I don't mind that at all.
I would very much like to see Columbus get in. One of those I'm really big, especially when it comes to the East.
Yeah.
I'd like feel-good stories.
Mm-hmm.
So give me Canadian teams all the time, but give me a Canadian team and the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Okay.
For it. Yeah.
I like the way you work. You know who has a feel-good story? Bryan Mudryk.
Well, I'll take it. What's happening? Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too, buddy. Thanks so much for joining us.
Jamie,
you are the voice of
technology. Technology is not my fan.
No.
It's
Sorry,
not Jamie either. Don't you worry about it.
We had an issue before the show came on, buddy. So let's get to the topics du jour. The biggest storyline for the Montreal Canadiens right now.
Wow. I would say optimism. How's that one? Playing some nice hockey over the last month in the wild card conversation. They begin the night 2 points back. And I guess if we wanted to go to maybe a TSN turning point, we could point to a couple things. I think the belief in Martin St. Louis and the system and the hard work that this young group has put in. I think Patrik Laine, who you guys know very well in Winnipeg, him healthy and back in the lineup in that shot. You've seen it firsthand for a long time. And man, it's lit up the Bell Center, especially on the power play. And the trade for Alex Carrier coming over from Nashville, a right shot veteran defenseman, has really solidified, I think, the D group in the sense that everyone can sort of play now to their strengths. You got a lot of the time, a guy like Caden Gooley, Mike Matheson, who still is, by the way, but playing on his offside back there. And it just has really sort of set up the D pairings. And Jakub Dobush, since his call-up, I mean, he has been really good in net as a rookie goaltender, his call-up from Laval. He kicked off his career with a shutout versus the defending champs in Florida. I mean, what a way to start. And then finally took a loss in overtime against the Devils. So it's great. I personally think that the league is a better place when Montreal is coming and is competitive, and they are right now for sure.
Yeah, I was just saying, Bryan, that I love when you see as many Canadian teams obviously do as well as possible. I think that it adds a lot more intrigue into not only the regular season, but certainly the postseason as well. One of the players that's making a difference this year, a rookie defenseman, Lane Hutson. What can you tell us about him? Why has he been impactful?
So competitive, Sarah. So you and I actually covered for TSN years ago. I've covered the Under-18 World Hockey Championship for a number of years, and we did one together in North Dakota. And through that program, USA Hockey's National Team Development Program, you get to see a lot of great young American players, Cole Caulfield in Montreal, and Lane Hutson. And I first saw him compete in Germany, and in the United States back in 2021, right out of that COVID year. And his shiftiness right away was noticeable. He's not a big guy, but his IQ and how he thought the game, even at that level, was unbelievable. And I remember saying when he slipped to the second round of Montreal and they drafted him, I'm like, this could be the steal of the draft. And watching him now at the NHL level, Dan Muse is now an assistant coach with the Rangers. He coached him in that program, USA Hockey National Team Development Program. And the competitive fire that he has, the way he thinks the game, how he can use his body in ways to close bigger guys off. We've seen it at times. Now, all that being said, Sarah, he's going to get beat. I mean, it's the NHL. It's the toughest league on earth, and he's learning. And every time he's coming up against Austin Matthews. Tonight he's got Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. Like, the stars of the Jets will be tough. But he has proven at every level in his career so far that he can get it done. He's doing it again with his vision and his creativity. And he's the first rookie defenseman since 77-78 to have two different point streaks of over 7 points in his rookie campaign. And if you look overall at defensemen, you got a great one in Morrissey. Well, guess what? He's right there in points with Josh Morrissey right now in the NHL for all defensemen.
So impressive.
Mark Scheifele was left off Team Canada's list for the Four Nations face-off. Cole Caulfield, the same story for the American roster. I know it's been almost 2 months since the announcement, Brian, but what have you thought of his play since the decision for him to not represent the Americans?
For Cole Caulfield?
Yeah, for Cole, sorry.
No, and you know what's interesting? I would throw in, just because he's a big story all the time in Montreal, is the captain here, Nick Suzuki, not in Team Canada. But I digress to your actual question. Cole Caulfield, the thing that's been impressive with Cole, and he was asked this morning at the media avail to Marty St. Louis about his leadership, is that Cole has really worked hard to be a 200-foot player. Cole can score. I mean, there's no doubt. He scored at every level. Sarah, we talked about the U18 program. He tied Ovechkin's record for 14 goals in a single tournament, Cole Caulfield, in 2019. And again, all he's done is continue to do that at the NHL level. Cole will score goals in the National Hockey League. He has done it. He will continue to do it. It's what he does. Marty St. Louis has been more impressed with his defensive 200-foot game. He's been a great playmaker. He's had to really give up his sweet spot on the power play since Laine's been healthy. All those power play goals from Patrick Laine, that was Caulfield's spot. He's been a very unselfish player. Marty's saying today he's more talkative on the bench. He's leading by his play, and he gets mad. Like, if he misses a defensive assignment, Cole's mad, right? And he's like Lane Hudson. He's a littler guy, but man, these guys have a competitive fire that you wish you could transplant into players, because it's special to watch. And yes, they were disappointed when the actual news came out, Jamie, to the actual question. I mean, Nick Suzuki was disappointed. Of course, you want to represent your country, right? Cole went over and played at the World Hockey Championship for USA, by the way. He went in Ostrava. He was in the group that I covered, and he played great. And that's not going to affect these guys. They want to win for their teams. They're proud. They're hungry. They're going to compete no matter what. And you're seeing it.
Buddy, appreciate the time as always. Have a great call tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, good to see you guys. And sorry for the technology problem. We'll blame Jamie. Okay, Sarah? Okay.
I always do.
See you guys. Yeah.
Bryan Mudryk joining us from Montreal.
Looking forward to this one tonight. It should be It should be a good one. And I liked the points that Kevin had made before too about just when you look bigger picture about this entire road trip, about the different types of games that we are going to see. And obviously very different storylines in each one. If Boston is able to do it as kind of a redemption game, which is what we had talked about, the games against Utah and Calgary being for Winnipeg. And those were not games that were as one-sided as that Boston game. And then, of course, going to Washington with everything that's going on with Alexander Ovechkin. So very much looking forward to this Eastern swing and the games that we have in store. Yeah,
it's a fascinating road trip coming up. And it's funny how that Boston game has been played so long ago because the way the schedule is so compressed and it's gone by so quickly.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about the 8-1 thrashing that they had and what the storyline will have. But we'll touch on that a little bit more on Thursday.
Yeah, so looking forward to it. Again, if you were joining us late here, the lineup is expected to be the same as what we saw in the last game, other than in net with Connor Hellebuck returning between the pipes, 15-2-2 in his last 19 starts. The Jets 14-9 on the road. Montreal 6-2-2 in their last 10 games. So they've been on a roll lately as well. So lends itself to a
Going to be a
very good.
fascinating night.
It should be.
You know, if you haven't had enough of the conversation about the game, make sure you go to Winnipeg Sports Talk. That's coming up right away here.
Absolutely. It's just starting right now.
Yeah, exactly. So once we leave you, feel free to go over there and make sure you watch the game on TSN 3 tonight or listen to it on CJOB.
And we will see you on Thursday afternoon. We've got a great show coming up. The plan for Thursday. Steve Koulias is going to join us from NHL Network and Sirius.
Yeah.
And Andrew Raycroft from former NHL netminder, who's with Nesson now, NHL Network. He does a great job.
Wow.
So actually, one of the things I'm looking forward to asking him about is that they are doing almost like a Manning cast.
Really?
Yes.
For the game on Thursday?
Well, not for that one,
Okay.
but coming up. So I just think it's intriguing because we haven't really seen that from the hockey side.
The Manning cast is fantastic for football.
So it'll be interesting to even just get his perspective on that for hockey because he's going to be involved in that with a Bruins game. And both Steve and Andrew are going to be on the call for some of the Four Nations games. So looking forward to it.
Very nice. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Hey, I hope you guys have a great day. Really appreciate it. We got through.
We made it.
Uh,
Barely.
Thanks so much, everyone, for checking in. Make sure that you join us on Thursday. We'll see you then.